Redemption. Blue Moon Saloon, Book 3. A commotion broke out by the front door, and Soren couldn't help but look up. Cole was leading someone in off the street, and the women in the cafe all flocked over to help. What was going on? "Oh, you poor thing," Jessica said to the rail-thin woman Cole guided to a chair. Probably another tourist who'd had too much of the Arizona sun. So why did his pulse skip a couple of times, as if she were a long-lost friend? "Rick, get her a cushion," Tina said. "Get her a glass of water, too," Jess added, kneeling by the woman. "I'll get it," Soren said, stepping to the counter for a glass. He counted to 10 as he filled it. Damn, why was his hand shaking? And why was his heart suddenly revving in overdrive? It wasn't as if he'd witnessed a terrible accident. It was just some lady feeling faint. His inner bear, though, reacted like it was much more, pacing and growling inside his mind. "What?" he wanted to yell. "What?" He glanced outside as he carried the glass to the woman. Only a few weeks ago, a band of rogues had made their second attack on members of his clan. Were they back? Was that why his bear was suddenly on alert? But there were no suspicious vehicles or strangers skulking about. Not much of anything happened outside on a Sunday morning. All the action was in the cafe. He kneeled in front of the woman and held out the glass. The hand that reached for the glass was covered in wicked burn marks, and he winced a little just seeing them. "I'm fine," the woman said, straightening. The curtain of her hair parted, and Soren froze. Everything froze. His heart ceased beating. Blood stopped pulsing through his veins. His lungs halted in mid-breath, and even his bear went absolutely, positively still. Her hair was darker. Her scent had changed a tiny bit, too. And she was thin. Far, far too thin. But the second his eyes locked on those impossibly green eyes, he knew. "Soren?" It was barely a whisper, but her voice shot straight to his heart. "Sarah?" he managed. "Mate!" his inner bear roared. "Alive!" It was Sarah. His Sarah. Alive. He wanted to grab her and dance her around, to crush her to his chest and never, ever let go. He wanted to roar, loud enough for folks all the way back in Montana to hear. To sit her down and start feeding her hearty meals to make up for whatever illness or hard times were responsible for making her so gaunt. But before he could do any of those things, her hand dropped to her belly. A stretched out, round as a basketball belly, so out of place on that thin frame. His breath caught as his mind slowly processed what that meant. Pregnant. She was pregnant. For a split second, his bear nearly jumped for joy. But then his mind caught up, doing the math. He hadn't seen Sarah in nearly a year. The time he'd been forced to leave home, plus the months since then when he thought she was gone forever. Nearly a year, which meant... The glass he was holding slipped out of his grip, and his vision blurred over red. "Soren!" Jessica cried. He barely heard, because his ears filled with a roar loud enough to drown her voice and the ear-splitting sound of shattering glass. And his legs wheeled and carried him out of the room before his bear leaped right out of his skin and mauled something or someone. He couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't react, not even to Sarah's beseeching eyes as they cried, "Please, please let me explain."